Back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Pokemon cards were being printed at an enormous scale. Demand was exploding worldwide, kids were ripping packs everywhere, and Wizards of the Coast was racing to keep up. But in that rush, something interesting happened. Tiny printing mistakes began slipping through the cracks. And at the time, nobody cared. Most of these errors were so small that collectors barely noticed them or simply assumed that they were normal. But decades later, those same tiny defects can have a massive impact on a card's value. What's even crazier is that many of these error cards aren't flashy or obvious. They're not miscuts or upside down cards, they're subtle changes in text, symbols, ink placement, or evolution boxes. Which means even today, plenty of collectors have these cards sitting quietly in old binders, completely unaware that something that they assume is only a few dollars can actually be worth far more. So let's break down some of the most fascinating Pokemon card errors from that era. We'll start with the Evolution Box era Wartortle from base set. Since Wartortle evolved from Squirtle, the Evolution Box should show Squirtle. Instead, this era card shows Wartortle evolving into itself. It's a simple mistake, but it fundamentally breaks the evolution chain. These were only found very rarely in unlimited base set packs, making them extremely desirable to era collectors. Next up is one of the most elusive Pikachu errors ever, the Ghost Stamp Shadowless Pikachu. First glance, it looks like a normal Shadowless Pikachu, but under closer inspection, you can see the faint traces where a first edition stamp should be. This happened because the artwork was printed on an unlimited sheet, but originated from a first edition base set sheet. These cards were found almost exclusively in the Shadowless base set Zap theme deck, and they're incredibly hard to come by. Then there are the famous no symbol jungle hollows. These cards are missing the jungle flower symbol entirely. While the error was corrected fairly early, the production numbers were still high enough that roughly 1 in every 8 jungle hollow cards is missing the symbol. They're not impossible to find, but they're significantly more valuable than standard jungle hollows, especially in a high grade. A really interesting one comes from the Gym Challenge Rockets Minefield. The error version is missing the number 2 in its effect text, and what makes this unique is that the corrected version is actually the rarer one. The fix happened late in production, so most copies people pulled had the error, meaning collectors often overlook which version they have. Another subtle but iconic error is the sideways fighting energy Diglett. The fighting energy symbol for Diglett's dig attack is rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. It's incredibly easy to miss unless you know what you're looking for. These were found mainly in base set 2-player starter decks, making them far less common than pack-pulled versions. Zapdos also has a strange error involving holograms. Some copies were printed with the holo missing from the Evolution Box area. Zapdos doesn't evolve, but during printing, the hologram space was mistakenly removed as if an Evolution Box was going to be placed there. Both first edition and unlimited versions exist, but the unlimited corrected version came later and is slightly more uncommon. One of the tiniest errors ever printed is found on Beedrill from base set. The word defending in its attack text was mistakenly printed as defending with a full stop placed inside the word. It's a blink and you'll miss its error, but it's very real and very rare. Blastoise also has a fascinating error known as the missing stage text Blastoise. An ink smear partially or completely obscures the word stage in the evolution text. These were found rarely on unlimited base set packs and are highly sought after by error collectors. Even fossil commons weren't immune. Krabby from Fossil can sometimes show a small scratch-like mark running through the fossil symbol. It's subtle, inconsistent, and easy to dismiss as damage, but it's a recognised printing error. And finally, one of the most visually noticeable errors, the D edition Butterfree. An ink defect caused the first edition stamp to appear as Edition D. Butterfree is the most common example, but in rare cases, other jungle first edition commons have been found with the same defect. So if you've got old Pokemon cards sitting in a binder, a shoebox, or a forgotten drawer, it might be time to take a closer look, because sometimes it's the smallest details, the ones that everyone overlooked, that end up being the most valuable.